Mr. Patrick Tay.
Question 18 and question 19 together.
Yes, please.
Well, we've seen encouraging progress since embarking on our ITM journey in 2019 and in 2016. Singapore's overall labour productivity, as measured by real value added per actual hours worked, rose by 2.7% per annum from 2016 to 2019, up from 2.2% in the preceding 3 years. Real median income from work of full-time Singaporeans, including employers' CPF contributions, rose by 3.7% per annum from 2016 to 2019, higher than the 3.2% per annum growth in the preceding 3 years. Up to 2019, our ITMs have been progressing well, with most of them on track to meet their targets. Unfortunately, COVID-19 disrupted this progress. Some of our ITM sectors, such as air transport, hotels, and retail, were badly hit and will take time to recover. That is why, as part of the series of budget measures, we provided special support for the harder hit sectors to help this stay resilient. Beyond the immediate impact, COVID-19 has also accelerated long-term structural trends, such as digital transformation, a review of globalization, and a focus on sustainability. We must therefore build on the head start and progress that we had made in the last 5 years, and to refresh our ITMs to meet the accelerated changes brought about by COVID-19. For each of the 23 ITM sectors, we will update our sectoral strategies to create and seize opportunities through digitalization, innovation, and internationalization, upskilling of workers and job redesign, with the aim of lifting the productivity and wages of our workers and creating good jobs for Singaporeans. We target to complete this by next year. Our ITM's refresh is complemented by the work of the Emerging Stronger Task Force and the Singapore Together Alliances for Action, which have served as pathfinders to help us seize immediate opportunities, even amidst COVID-19. Ultimately, we transform our economy for the benefit of our people. Our ITMs chart the path forward for each sector to be competitive, so that our people can access good jobs and opportunities which improve their lives. Jobs and skills is therefore a key pillar of each ITM, and is supported through initiatives such as the Next Bound of Skills Future. We pay specific attention to mid-career workers to help them stay employable and access good jobs. Our tripartite partners have also been working closely together to ensure that business transformation is tied to workplace and workforce transformation. For example, Workforce Singapore has worked with governments, agencies, and industry to develop jobs transformation maps to provide detailed insights on the impact of technology and innovation on the industry and workforce. The labour movement has also been working with businesses to establish company training committees to help our workers upgrade while supporting their company's transformation. More immediately, the Labour Movement's Job Security Council is working hard to match and place workers, minimize retrenchments, and shorten unemployment periods for our workers. In this way, we achieve inclusive growth which uplifts our workers. The government is acutely aware of the plight of vulnerable workers who have been hardest hit by the pandemic. We have therefore been providing additional support for these workers who require more time and effort to reskill, upskill, and rejoin the workforce. One example is the Jobs Growth Incentive, to which we have allocated another $5.2 billion during the recent budget to extend the hiring window by 7 months. A higher level of support is provided to employers who hire mature local workers, persons with disabilities, and ex-offenders. To help our senior workers, the Senior Employment Credit provides wage offsets for businesses that employ Singaporean workers aged 55 and above. We have also introduced the Enabling Employment Credit, which provides employers with wage offsets for each Singaporean persons with disabilities earning below $4,000 per month that they employ. We'll continue to build on these schemes to ensure that no one is left behind as we work with our tripartite partners to emerge stronger from the pandemic.
Sir Patrick Tay.
Thank you, DPM, for the update on the ITMs. I just have two supplementary questions. Firstly, in particular, the ITMs, I think two key focuses were on jobs growth, as well as strengthening the Singaporean core. I hope as MTI and the respective sectoral ITMs flesh out their updates and do their revisions to share where the jobs growth opportunities are as we overcome and emerge stronger together after post-COVID. The second supplementary question I have is with respect to the ITMs. I think different ITMs have varying successes. I hope to see more best sharing of good practices and the successes and the key success factors as well. But I also want to urge MTI as we look at the 23 industry transformation maps and as we prepare for next bound, to continue the good work of the tripartite, the sectoral tripartite committees, because I felt being personally involved in some of them very useful in overcoming the sectoral challenges. So I urge that as we prepare for the next bound to continue the good work and these sectoral tripartite committees. Thank you.
Well, I thank Mr. Patrick Tay for your supplementary questions. So your first question on providing looking for new growth opportunities, I fully agree with you. And in fact, as I mentioned in my reply earlier, I think a post-COVID world would be a very different world. We're already seeing many of these changes. The changes have been accelerated. And in particular, technological trends have also been accelerated, especially with regards to digitalization. I think, as I said in my budget speeches before, that COVID-19 has accelerated digitalization in a way which very few CTOs have been able to do. So with that, you find that there will be significant changes in the nature of work and even in the nature of the way in which businesses conduct themselves. And I must say that our agencies are already responding to that quite well. If you take, for example, the whole digitalization trend, already we are not waiting for the update of these ITMs before we act. So in the digitalizations part, we have increased the number of digital leaders and performance, especially among SMEs, from 9 to 12% from 2019 to 2020. And the share of digital starters also fell from 68% to 62%. So some of our MNCs and large local enterprises are on par with our global peers in this digitalization. Now, what this digitalization trend means is that the nature of the jobs and the nature of the skills will be very different, and which is why it's critical that we develop the skills of our workers in this respect. And at the same time, for this to meet this jobs growth, the answer is not just in the government deciding which are the sectors that will grow and which are the sectors that would not. And the significance of the jobs growth incentive is exactly that when companies decide that they are going to grow, we incentivize them to draw in more workers. And that's what the whole SG United Jobs and Skills package is all about, which is for those who are able to hire, we incentivize them to hire, and that's why a big part of the budget was tilted towards the jobs growth incentive. There's another part which is about the attachments program, so that workers can get attached to get a sense of the nature of the job and companies can have a chance to evaluate the workers. And for workers in newer areas, they can also go for training. So those are different ways in which we are preparing our workers and to grow our Singaporean core, to move Singaporeans to jobs in which there are growth opportunities. On Patrick's second question about the varying success of the ITM. Now, in fact, whether you do ITM or you don't do ITM, the nature of economic growth cannot be predicted in advance. You can't say that in 5 years this sector will grow, in 5 years this sector will shrink. There are sectors which will face more challenging conditions for which we are helping them to stay resilient. I mentioned that air transport is one area. Air transport and tourism are the most obvious areas from this COVID crisis. But at the same time, even in normal times, you'll find that some sectors will grow faster than others. Therefore, the way that we are helping our workers is to ensure that we provide as much training as possible, and that's where I want to commend our labour movement for the very good work that they are doing, both in starting the company training committee, so that when companies are looking at how they will change and transform, they are at the same time, the union is working together with them to look at how the workers can be retrained for that. And this is not something to be taken for granted. I think this tripartism, where our labour movement is not there to just oppose change, but in fact to facilitate change, so that at the end of the day, whatever changes that are made can be sustainable, in that you have the support, full support for workers, and our workers can have a better life. So this is really the crux of this, and I want to thank Patrick and your team for your very hard work in the labour movement in doing this. Now, you asked whether would there be sharing of good practices. Indeed, in fact, I have just made some changes in the way we organize our ITM work to link it to our work on R&D, so that as technology and innovation plays a more critical role in our economic future, we can work on both simultaneously. How can we help companies to transform, to be more technologically savvy? And in turn, I mentioned about the jobs transformation program. How do we look at how do we design programs to enable our workers to have better skills in order to access those better jobs, so that not only do the companies have higher productivity, but our workers can look forward to higher wages and better employment prospects. Now, on Patrick's point, Mr. Patrick Day's point on sectoral transformation, the committee, and the tripartite committee, sectoral tripartite committee, I fully agree with you. These are important work in which we bring all our stakeholders together, so that we put our efforts together to achieve a greater impact. And so I'd like to thank Mr. Patrick Day and Mr. Sharul Taha for your question. Thank you.
Mr. Sharul Taha.
I'd like to thank DPM for sharing the progress made by the ITMs and the improvements we have in productivity, and I look forward to the ITM refresh. I'd like to pose 2 supplementary questions on ITMs. Given that ITMs began a few years ago, much has changed since then, and we've learned a lot in the past 1 year from the pandemic and changing macroeconomic situation. Are we incorporating these lessons learned and revising the ITMs to better prepare ourselves for the future? For example, in the manufacturing ITM, should we be incorporating capability for vaccination production or preparing for PPE production in preparation for the next pandemic? And for the healthcare ITM, should we explore the use of technology or develop more skills to build latent capacity in our healthcare system that can be called upon and scaled up quickly when the next pandemic arises? For the second question, coincidentally today marks the first day after close to a year where working from home is no longer the default work arrangement. In an earlier ST poll, 3 in 4 respondents do not wish to return to the workplace full-time. Work from home or apologies. Apologies, Speaker. Work from home or work from anywhere has brought about many benefits for both businesses and employees, including for the vulnerable workers and workers with mobility challenges. Not only does it allow jobs to be more accessible to all, it could also be a competitive advantage for companies in Singapore to vie for jobs outside of Singapore. This could be a game changer for our professional services ITM. Can we lock in the gains of remote and flexi work arrangements before we revert back to the pre-COVID norms? Can we relook at the opportunities to incorporate this into our ITM moving forward? Thank you.
I thank Mr. Sharataha for your question. Indeed, not only can we work from home, we can work from anywhere, and you get calls anytime as well. Now, you mentioned about whether we should take into account the lessons learned from the pandemic and as well as the lessons from these few years of implementation. Indeed, we should do that. And to your specific question, for example, on manufacturing, what are the new opportunities for production of vaccines, for example, or even some way in which we can play a role in the vaccine? The economic agencies have been working very hard on this, and I would leave the economic agencies to provide the announcement. All I can say is that I've provided sufficient budgetary support for us to secure some of these sites, some of these projects. Now, on your question about the skills, for example, healthcare, and for us to move towards a digital, indeed, that should be the way. And as I said, digitalization has been accelerated, and we must take this opportunity to look at how we can not only digitalize as much of our company's processes as possible, but also help our workers to build that new skills to be able to access those opportunities. And in fact, I think beyond that, I've seen in many of our CCs, for example, our community centers, that many seniors are being taught how to use the digital tool, and I just did one over the weekend, as well as the projects to help our hawkers go digital, help our storeholders go digital, and all these are achieving good progress. So I'll say certainly we must take into account the changes. As to your second question about work from home and work from anywhere, and that this is a game changer, I fully agree with you that it's a game changer. But let me add that this is a game changer that cuts both ways. If you can work from home, anybody in the world can also work from home. And I have seen, for example, videos of how workers in very, very depressed areas being able to access jobs in very advanced economy because all they needed was a knowledge of English, a knowledge of basic skills in doing what they were good at doing, a laptop and an internet connection. And I've seen companies that have actually chopped up a very complex project into different bits and different parts for which they put it online for bidding, and then you have workers all over the world bidding for those projects. And in one of the reports I saw, the worker was extremely happy because he had never earned that amount in his whole life. The company was extremely happy because the cost to him was a fraction of what he had to pay in an advanced economy with very strong laws of regarding employment and so on. So it is a major opportunity, but also a major challenge. And that is why in all the last year's budgets and this year's budget, we place a very, very strong emphasis on upgrading the skills of our workers. And I look forward to our labor movement working closely together with us on the Company Training Committee and the Job Security Council so that we can help our workers access good jobs, better jobs, and to be able to ride on this digitalization trend. And I hope that the work that we are going to embark on in a refreshed way, linking our R&D efforts with the economic sectors and pulling together these different strands of efforts will enable us to make even better progress. Thank you.